There we go. I am going to record this, so if some people aren't here, they'll be able to get this Zoom presentation. But thank you to those of you who are joining. Tell me the level of your gymnast, or if you're a gymnast on here, what level you are and what year you graduate. That would be great. Okay, we have a few more people entering. I'm going to enter a couple more people here. Welcome. I'm Jill Hicks, if we haven't met. Okay, we have a few more people jumping on. We're a little bit early. Welcome, Gotham. I'm excited. Hi, Kirsty.
How are you?
Good. Happy Sunday.
Yes.
I am letting people on here. We're a little bit early. But I was just saying, if people can tell me in the chat what level your gymnast is and what grad year, that would be great if you're comfortable with that. Or Kirsty, you probably can see some of the names and know.
Yeah. I would love it if people could turn on their cameras too, perhaps.
Mm,
But
I always like that too.
yeah.
It's kind of the trend now not to. I know I'm used to
Um,
it, you know.
we have a couple of level nines, a level 10.
Okay,
Um, yeah,
good to know.
that's it so far.
I don't want to stand here for an hour call.
Hey,
Yay.
guys.
Hi,
Hi.
Collins family. Okay.
Sit out there.
Welcome, all you Gotham families. I'm excited that you're here. Okay, we have a level 9, grade 8, and a 2029 grad so far that I've written in here. So I also want you to know I love the Q&As or just questions you might want to type in if you're not comfortable unmuting and asking me questions. We can save them for the end of the presentation, but I absolutely love doing that. So if you want to do that, that'd be great. Oh,
Sorry?
and Kirsty, I'm recording it. So if anybody wants the recording,
Oh,
just
yeah.
let me know, or I'll send it to you and you can forward it on to people. We're still
Thank you.
letting some
Great.
people in, and then we'll get started. There's Tess. Hi. Okay. I also just wanted to say, if you haven't met me before, I'm Jill Hicks and I own JH Consulting. And congratulations to all of you that have made it this far, going to regionals. I know it's never easy. There's always so many challenges that come up in gymnastics. So congratulations to you and your club and however the season has been going. I follow a lot of you. Okay, let me see here. Okay, so I actually have a presentation, so I'm going to try to screen share it. But again, if questions come up, I'd recommend that you either type them into the chat or write them down, and then at the end, I can go through and answer them. All right. So Kirsty, do you think this is a good head count that I
Yeah.
should go ahead and start?
Oh, I think
They're
so.
recording the whole thing. It's going to be posted.
You said it.
Yeah, I said it.
Um, and can you
Guys,
guys,
if you're on, just mute yourself
yeah,
unless it gets to the point where you need to ask a question.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to try to screen share here. Here we go. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me move it over and press play. All right, can you guys see that? Yeah, thumbs up. Love it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. So I always like to say in the beginning, it is a team effort. I think a lot of times when families start the recruiting process, they're just unsure of who's going to be doing the recruiting. Is it going to be me as the parent? Is it going to be my club coach? Is it going to be an advisor that we hire? And honestly, it's a team effort. Everyone has a role in the process. But it almost always starts with a dream. This is Emma. She was one of my clients. I started with her in 8th grade, and she ended up getting a scholarship and going to University of Arizona. And I love that it starts with a dream. So many gymnasts have started gymnastics since they were 2 years old, 3 years old. And then they start hearing about college gymnastics as they progress through the levels, and they go to meets in college to watch or go to camps, and they get this dream, and it inspires them oftentimes to keep them in the sport longer than they would have, I would say, or they just love it so much that they can't wait to be a part of a college team. So I was a college coach for 20 years, and I was recruited to Oregon State University, UCLA, at the time USC, and both the Arizona schools. I was from California, and I ended up picking Oregon State and got injured, couldn't do gymnastics anymore. And they said, would you stay on your scholarship and be one of our coaches? So that's how I got into college coaching, which I absolutely fell in love with. And then, so I did that for 20 years. And then I started JH Consulting about, almost 14 years ago now. So we are a personal advising business. So I tried to apply everything I noticed with families when they walked into my office, going through the recruiting process and gymnasts. I tried to apply all the things that I saw they were nervous about or uncomfortable with or just really didn't understand. And I tried to apply that to JH Consulting. Most parents say they are overwhelmed, that they often understand the academic admissions, but have never done the athletic side of recruiting, and they don't know when to start or where to begin. And they always wonder, is our daughter going to be good enough? They feel responsible to help their athlete in the recruiting process, and they don't want to look back with any regrets. So if you feel any of those kind of statements, you're normal, and it's all part of the most of the true fact is most parents have never gone through the athletic recruiting process. And so they feel all those feelings. Most gymnasts say, I am stressed, or I'm not sure which schools to target, or I wonder if I'm good enough, or it is a lot to juggle with school, life, gymnastics, and of course, the recruiting process. So if your athlete is saying any of those things, one of the first questions in our Get to Know You session we do with our clients is, how do you feel about the recruiting process? And 99% of the time they say, I'm stressed or it's stressful. So I feel like my job as an advisor is to try to smooth out that stress. I can't do all of it. And you're going to see that as I go through the roles of your club coach, the guidance counselor at school, you as a parent. It takes a village to help these kids through the recruiting process. There's no one way to get recruited, and it's like a roller coaster ride very often. So what is the parent's role in the recruiting process? I say number one should always be your love and the encouragement that you give your athlete. Number two, create college conversations and discuss your family's priority for college. So what I've noticed is every family, when we have our get to know you sessions, we require the parent to attend. That's the first session that we do. And we want to know, what are your priorities as a family? Because every family's different. Some families prioritize location. Some families, it's all about academics, way more than the gymnastics. Some families need a scholarship. It's either we get a scholarship or she's not doing it. So everybody's a little bit different. So I say, have those conversations around the dinner table. What's important to your family? And oftentimes that will dictate the way the process is going to go for your child. Give your athlete time to develop. One thing I think is very confusing is most families, when they hear about college recruiting, they think they're too late or that they need to rush. And that is not the case. Most of the time, I would say, even my best level 10s need time to continue to develop in all kinds of ways, emotionally, mentally, sometimes skills, and usually confidence. So just know that is really common. Um, Start the process by just gaining knowledge. Don't feel like you have to jump in and have it all figured out. I think it is a process of learning. Also, watch for the maturity and the ability for your athlete to lead the process. Some parents feel, I think, like they have to lead, or the club coach feels like they have to lead, when honestly, it really does come down to, in the end, having been a college coach, if anyone else is leading the process but the athlete, it's a red flag. So you really want to take your time and be sure that this is something your athlete is ready for. Walk alongside them, but they must write their own emails, post their own videos, and show that they can manage school and gym and, of course, the recruiting process. It's a lot, but girls do it all the time, and gymnasts are very capable. And also, we like to make it fun. And I think parents need to remember that because it can feel so stressful. Here's some more tips that I think are really helpful for parents. Be sure it is your athlete's dream and desire. And that can ebb and flow. So sometimes they can say this is something they really want to do, and then they have a rough year and they're not so sure. And so it can ebb and flow. That's really normal in sports because sports are not anything you can do perfectly. There's going to be good days and bad days. So, but we want to be sure that they really desire this because it's a big commitment, not only in the high school years when they're trying to get recruited, but once they get to college. Just prepare them that there's going to be highs and lows. Focus on teams that match their skills and scores. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And remind them they're going to go to college. I always say that in my sessions down the road when they're struggling. I always say, you're going to go to college. It's okay. You don't have to stress completely about this. You will go to college. I have another person to admit here. I'll do it real quick. Oh, you know what is let me see if it's going to let me. For some reason, let me see. Yeah, unfortunately, until I get out, it's not going to let me. Okay. Keep sharing how proud you are of them with or without sports. I think that's really important. Like I said earlier, create conversations. Go to watch college meets on TV, identify your family's priorities for college, and then take them to college summer camps and fall clinics. And I'll go into more detail on that as we get through this. Um, what are the club coaches' roles? Sometimes I think some athletes feel like their coaches should be loading their videos, their coaches should be talking to the college coaches. It's really not that their college coach's job. They can enhance those things, but their job is to teach the skills, all right? To prepare the gymnast to compete and to build the gymnast confidence and believe in them, and then to check in with their gymnasts on their goals. What are your athletes gymnast goals and teams that they want to target? And then as they get through the recruiting process and the athletes already done their contact work, then it could be time for the club coaches to contact college coaches. But that is not usually what I recommend doing until the athlete has put in the time and the work and made the connections first. Because having been a college coach, I know what that's like to get a phone call from a club coach, and I've not heard from the athlete at all. And it's a red flag because it made me wonder, does this athlete really want to do this? Or is this the college coach's desire more than the athlete? So be aware of that. Parents and club coaches, here are some reminders. Going from level 9 to level 10 is really tough. The skills really do progress as they try to master those D skills. They're pretty tough. So we must be patient. We always want to keep the academics a priority, and we want to watch for their maturity to be able to manage the college recruiting process. I'm going to say that again because it is really important. And the goal is we want the gymnast to be prepared to represent themselves directly to the college coach. So the club coach is not supposed to do that. The parent is not supposed to do that. And I'm not supposed to do that. It is really important that the athlete is mature enough and that that is their goal. And we get clients in eighth grade, and sometimes it's not until they're junior that they're ready to get recruited. But now that they've learned all the research about the schools and done all the work and gone to the right summer camps, that I begin to see their maturity and their ability to represent themselves. And it's pretty cool to watch. And most gymnasts are shy at first about all of this, a little bit scared. And then as they meet with someone who can help them through the process, it's amazing how they really do unfold and become very good at communicating and very good at getting all the information to the college coaches. The college coach looks for these items. Number one, usually level 10s or elite gymnasts. Number two, they're going to go to My Meet Scores and look up their scores. So you can't just do highlight videos. You can't pretend you're getting good scores. You can't email the coaches and say, I'm really good. I want to be on your team. They're going to go and look right at My Meet Scores to see how the athlete is scoring. Then they're going to look at the skills. So they have to have videos ready to go. Then they're going to look at their start values. Then they're going to look at consistency. Then they're going to look at academics and test scores. And then get to know them, their personality, their attitude, their work ethic, and sometimes even the club you're from. The recruit must have proven results. This is again where it helps a parent especially understand the recruiting process, that there actually are facts in recruiting. It's not just who's the nicest girl, who's maybe the one that has the best grades or test scores. You know what? There's facts that every college coach is looking for. When the seniors graduate, they need to find freshmen, if they can, come in to replace those scores, those skills, those start values. They don't want to go down in the rankings as a team. So that's where all of this comes in. So they want to see videos of full routines, skills, and training. So half routines, learning upgrades, and they want to see from practice, full routines, and meets. That's why highlight videos are not the best thing. Okay. They have to see start when the girl salutes to when they land. They have to see whole routines. Okay. They need to receive some emails with consistent updates. Then hopefully phone calls will begin, and that can't happen till after the sophomore year, June 15th. And they need to be representing themselves with confidence. And then they might get asked to go on an official or unofficial visit. And we teach them knowing what to say, questions to ask, and they are competing for a spot on the team. And then, of course, they're going to look at their academics to make sure they can match admissions and what that school will require. There will be
Jill,
ups and downs.
excuse me, Jill, there's a parent asking if she can be let in, but I don't know if
I
you
can't
can.
let her in. I've tried. It won't click
Okay,
on
I'll
it
let her know.
because I'm screen sharing.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. I can in a few minutes, Kirsty, though. Okay. There will be ups and downs. So there will be injuries at times. There will be rejection in the process. So I had one girl who I met with last week. She's had to change gyms. I am not exaggerating, 5 times since November. And different things came up, gym closures, club coaches that moved. and she's just been volleying back and forth to all these different clubs. That can happen. College coaches understand. Um, there will be the balance of academics. Sometimes school's not going well for whatever reason, gym or life. And there's just the pressure of learning how to compete those bigger skills. And that's all part of the recruiting process. So one thing I like to share with girls when they're scared because they've gotten an injury, that it's okay. College coaches are used to it. They have a whole team of girls. Several are injured going even in college. So none of these are roadblocks. These are what I call speed bumps. And it's just all part of being in sports. Okay, so they don't need to panic. And we work through them, and there's little ways that we teach how to work through them. So when do you start? So that's a big question. Parents typically have athlete. I had a girl reach out to me today on Instagram, and she said, "When do I get started? I don't know what I'm doing." And I always say, because I believe in this, level 9 or ninth grade. You want to begin loading your best videos at level 9. And by ninth grade, hopefully you are level 9 or moving into level 10. And that's a really good time to start the process. But what do I mean by starting? Starting means do your research. That's what we do with our clients. We do a lot of research, a lot of education, and getting our clients to the right summer camps. Those things need to happen before that summer before ninth grade and then after ninth grade, because in 10th grade, as you know, June 15th, after the finish of 10th grade, they can start having communication with college coaches. Again, the gymnast must lead the process, and we start with education and research. So when I say start, that's what I mean. I don't mean reaching out to college coaches when you're a level 9. They don't recruit level 9s typically. So that's not what I mean by that. I mean, starting with your athlete, really understanding what recruiting's all going to be all about down the road and getting them prepared, getting their social media prepared. I like to start that by level 9. And then again, the target date, June 15th, is when they can have communication with the college coaches. Let's talk about the Ivies a little bit. They recruit a little tiny bit later. Some are requiring SAT scores now of a 1400 plus. And that kind of went away during COVID, but it's coming back. So we want to be sure everybody's taking those SATs. They tend to recruit a little later because they often want to gather all the transcripts, and because grades and test scores matter so much. So they're a little bit opposite of all the other schools, except for maybe Stanford, UNC, GW, William and Mary, and the Ivies. They all recruit focused on the academics first in those test scores. Then they look at the gymnast and her skill level. So it's a little bit different. Typically, Ivies are going to recruit level 10s, and they want the athlete to have taken as many AP classes as possible each year. And last year, we placed over 10 girls to the Ivies. This is Sophia. She's been there a couple of years now at Penn, and she just did really well actually at the GEC championships on bars. So I wanted to be sure to give her a shout out. So what should you be doing each year? Now, this is just a real overview. This is very simplified, should I say. There's so much more involved. But freshman year, they should register with the Eligibility Center and start their Instagram. Sophomore year, they should be loading lots of videos, sending emails, and preparing for June 15th. And I'm assuming they're a level 10 by their sophomore year, but not all girls are. Some girls don't even get to level 10 till their senior year. Okay. Junior year, they usually go on visits, verbally commit, and I recommend they keep loading videos even after they've committed and competing as well as possible. Senior year is when they typically would sign a contract. It used to be the national letter of intent. I heard that's going away. It might look like a contract, or they might be like what they call a walk-on. We just don't know. And I'm going to explain that in a few minutes because everything's changing. The NCAA is going through a huge lawsuit, and the settlement announcements will be April 7th. I'm going to be doing a webinar. I'll explain that in just a few minutes on this whole change. And then senior year, they hopefully will sign a contract, continue competing and communicating with their future coach. It's very important not to jump off the bandwagon and not give as much to your gymnastics just because you're a senior. It's super important that they stay physically fit, really strong, and at the same level that they were recruited at or better. You can lose your verbal commitment, and we wouldn't want that to happen. So they have to stay in the game. And then summer college camps and fall clinics, they should be doing from ninth grade until they commit, whenever that is. Here's a couple of our JH girls that I worked with that are at Yale. They're freshmen this year. That's Haley Kriz and Ellie Kearns. So like I was saying, the House versus NCAA, supposedly the judge will announce on April 7th all the final information. So we are putting together a webinar on April 16th, and I'm going to have a lawyer there, and I'm going to have an NIL specialist, and then I'll be sharing how this is going to impact all the schools with gymnastics, and also scholarships or roster spots. What we've been told is gymnastics will now only be allowed to have in that sport 20 spots. So they're going to be making cuts to teams. If you look up some of the rosters, they don't have 20 on their team right now, but some teams have way more than 20. So they'll be making cuts to some of the teams. There's a lot to talk about. The Ivies have opted out of this, so they can have as many as they want on their teams. And I would assume D3 schools will opt out of this new ruling. But if you want more information, you should go to hicksconsulting.com and get on our newsletter list, because the webinar is only going to be allowed to accept a certain amount of people. And that's where we're going to have registration come out. And it's going to be Wednesday. This next Wednesday, I think, is the newsletter. People will be allowed to register. So this is Emma again and her mom. And I just love to remind everybody that we have to keep the fun in the process. This is one of my recent commits, Lacey Saltzman. She was elite her whole pretty much gymnastics career, and she chose the University of Minnesota. She's going a year early. That can happen sometimes. It's a whole nother webinar. But our advisor role in this, so I've shared the parent role, the athlete's role, the club coach's role, and here is the advisor role, if you have an advisor. Is to educate, number one, in all the NCAA rules that you're going to need to know. We assist in researching. We assist in targeting the right schools. We like to give a lot of support and encouragement, and we like to provide direct connections with the college coaches. We also feel our role is to build the athlete's confidence in the recruiting process, but ultimately we want to prepare every gymnast or client to be able to confidently walk through the process, representing themselves directly to the college coach. All right. I think that is the end. I'm going to stop sharing so I can let in the people. Okay. And we will go to Q&A. All right, let me admit some more of these families. There we go. All right, so I'm sure you have lots of questions. You can either type in your question, or you guys can unmute yourselves, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you can have. And any questions are fine, no matter where you're at in the recruiting process.
I'll start if that's
Yay,
okay.
Kirsty. All right.
should freshmen email college coaches that they're interested in, even though they know they're not going to hear back from them, just so they're kind of on their radar? And would that be only if they're level 10, or would level 9 do that also?
My recommendation is to wait until they've got their level 10 skills because they're not gonna, if a college coach, you have to imagine, they get about 30 emails a day. And if they get one that says, I'm a level 9, da 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 da, um, the D3 schools will probably keep those emails, but the D1 schools are gonna probably put them in the no thank you pile. So then you get kind of lost in recruiting. At least that's how I did it. I was a D1 college coach. I can't keep track of level 9s. So I know they're going to develop. Maybe I make a list somewhere, but I'm really into the level 10s, or elites. So I would say don't feel like you have to email at all. I wouldn't even recommend it till you're a level 10. Mhm. You're not going to lose a spot. Let's put it that way. Because when they receive your info, you want them to keep your info and put you on the watch list. And they're not going to do that with level 9s necessarily. They're going to do it with level 10s or they're going to forget who you are. So you want to send it where you're going to have the most impactful moment where they go, "Okay, I want to follow this girl."
What if there's a level 9 that goes to Easterns or scores like a 39 or whatever?
Then that would be different.
Oh, different?
But I
Okay.
would say in general, you don't need to worry at level 9 about emailing. But if you're a hot level 9, you know that athlete's going to be a very strong level 10, a college coach can see that. And that might be more where they'd keep that.
Thank you.
Good question. Anybody else?
Anyone have questions? Come on, guys.
Let's see. I don't see any in the chat either.
Jill, share a
Yeah.
little bit about like give some advice for how girls should choose college camps, how to prioritize if they
Yeah.
have a list, like how do you decide which ones to
Yeah.
prioritize?
So when they're young, I recommend going to one that might be close to home. So if you're an eighth grader, especially, one where mom and dad are going to be close by or maybe even stay in a hotel with mom and dad. I like that. But if you live in a location where you have to travel or fly and all of that, then my first recommendation is to go to realistic camps. So that's where it gets challenging as a parent. Well, what's going to be realistic? We don't even know. She's just starting level 10. How are we going to know? So it's kind of easier for someone like an advisor to know because I can look and see visually pretty quickly where this athlete might land long term. But as a parent, it's really tough. And I would say 80% of the time a parent advises the wrong camps. And that's okay. It's not going to harm them because when they go to a camp, they're going to learn so much. They're going to be on a campus. They're going to meet college coaches. They're going to start to get more comfortable with the whole process. So it's not a real negative thing. So as you get into level 10, and one thing we do at JH Consulting is we have a comparable where the girls have to give me their schools they want to target, and then they have to go watch those meets. And then we look at, do you have the same skills as those girls? Are you going to have the same skills? Do you have the same scores? Do you have the same start values? And that's a great way to go, okay, this camp looks like it could be an option. And then as they move closer and closer to maybe their junior year, and let's say they haven't gotten a lot of feedback directly from coaches, or maybe they've gotten some phone calls, then of course you want to go to those camps, or maybe some email responses. But I can tell you this, there's a few schools recently that just sent out, like, please come to our camp. And of course, everyone thinks, oh, they want me as a recruit. But camps are a moneymaker for the colleges. And they are a way to recruit. But I would say when you get a bulk email from a coach saying, come to our camp, they're sending that out probably to all level 10s in the country. So you have to be aware of that. Mhm.
Hi, Jill. Can you hear me? I'd have two questions, please.
Okay.
So this has been very helpful. So one question, when your athlete has had really bad injuries and has missed the season, is
Mhm.
there a way to communicate that, and what would be your advice there? And my second question is, do the colleges prefer athletes who can do all four events, or how does it work when you have one or two events where you can be very strong and the other ones where you're struggling more? So any guidance on that?
Good questions. Okay, wait. You asked the first one, say the first one again.
First was the injuries. Like, how do you
Injuries. Yeah.
communicate when you missed the entire season, for instance?
Yeah. I have an athlete, Skylar Dixon. You can go follow me. She's just went on about 4 visits and she got injured her junior year. Let's see, she's a 26. Yeah, she got injured last year. She had to have surgery and missed the whole season pretty much. And she's being recruited by 4 really good schools right now. Okay. So what I recommend, most girls think, oh my gosh, I don't want to tell the coach I'm injured. Well, they're going to see that you don't have any scores. So they already know you're injured, right? So I say the reverse, be authentic on Instagram. If you're a level 10 and you've been injured for a whole year, talk about it and say what you've learned through it, and how PT's going and how's conditioning going and what are you doing to encourage your teammates? And have you been going to meets and cheering on your teammates? And are you able to do one event or 2 events because of an injury? Tell me what's going on. I want to know as a college coach. So it's actually the opposite. Most kids, now some club coaches say, do not post it. I don't want these college coaches to know you're injured. Well, I was a college coach. Most of the coaches are my friends. They know you're injured. So I prefer, if you've gone through a surgery or you're in PT, to wait till you get past the shock, because it's very hard on a gymnast to get injured. They can't stand it, right? They are worker bees. So I wait till they go through surgery, come out of the injury, and then we post something or email the coaches. This is what's going on. But we don't go all into all the deep details because coaches don't have time for that. So you just kind of give a brief 1 sentence. This is what happened this year. This is why I'm not out there competing. But these are all the things I am doing to get back as soon as the doctor will allow me to. And then the coach will look on Instagram and go, I want to see what her attitude's like. I want to see how she's doing her PT. I want to see if she's conditioning. I want to see if she's cheering on her teammate. Because guess what? A lot of college gymnasts get injured. And if they recruit a kid who has a bad attitude or doesn't work through an injury properly, they don't want that on their team. So it can be the opposite. It can be a great way to get recruited. Okay. So I say be transparent and don't panic if your athlete misses a whole season. That can happen. Okay. And then your second question was,
If you are not necessarily strong in all four events,
oh
but you
yeah,
have some events where you do better, do the college coaches prefer athletes who can do all around all four events? And
great question.
what is your advice if you are not? That's probably not you.
In the past, the college coach would say, I want the most bang for my buck. I want someone who can walk in here and do all 4 events really well. Okay. Especially the higher ranked teams. They have the clout to be able to go find those kind of kids on their team or recruits. But if you look at college meets and you went down all 84 schools, you would probably notice maybe they have one all arounder, maybe two. You'd be lucky. I coached for 20 years. If we ever had 3 all arounders in one year, it was like incredible. Okay. So they don't typically, usually out of the gate, they want the most bang for their buck. So they're looking for an all arounder. Okay, that's what makes you stand out a lot in the recruiting process. However, the realistic truth is most girls aren't strong on all four events. There's a percentage, but most are not. So there, it's okay to be strong on only a couple events. Now, my other thought to this is with this new NCAA versus House settlement. I can't go into all the detail, it would take too long, but I have a gut feeling that because of all the ramifications of this lawsuit and how it's going to impact roster spots for the sport of gymnastics, I think coaches will still go after those all-arounders, but they're going to be able to give money now to event specialists too. I don't know if they will, but I have a feeling it's becoming a specialist on a couple events is going to be marketable in the future, is my gut. So there's a lot of reasons for that. I just can't go into it today. Good questions. Anybody else? Okay, here's one. Is it better to be a strong level 9 than not a strong level 10? So in general, if you're not a level 10 by your sophomore year, level 9 girls don't have a shot at college gymnastics. No, that's not what I mean. I'm glad you're asking this. So in the past, a lot of level 9s did some have level 10 skills. They just didn't go level 10. So the college coaches are all looking for level 10 skills, which are D skills in the book requirement. Okay, you don't have to do D skills. You can, I believe, at level 9, can do a double back, but things like that. But you don't have to be at a 10 start value. So there can be level 9s that get recruited to college. Are they going to go to a strong Division 1 team? No, not usually, unless they're really good on vault. Vault, sometimes I see occasionally a girl who, for whatever reason, can't do the other events and she's strong on vault. So occasionally that will happen, but not usually because the vaults at 10 start value are pretty tough at level 10. So you can be a late bloomer, is what I call it, and get recruited, even being just a level 10 for 1 year. But there's only going to be so many schools that are going to have availability at that point. But it doesn't mean you wouldn't get recruited. And it doesn't mean you can't be a level 9 and get recruited, but you're probably going to get recruited to Division 2 and 3 schools. Or there's also acrobatics and tumbling. Good question now. Okay. Do you recommend the same thing for a level 9? Okay, so let me go back. You asked at the top, is it better to be a strong level 9 than not a strong level 10? So I always answer it this way because I was a club coach for a while. It's all about confidence. So it does no good to take a level 9, put them into level 10 meets if they are not confident in what they're doing. So if they haven't put in the numbers and they go into a level 10 meet and they see all these girls doing the D skills, sometimes E skills, they walk in and it's really hard for them to go and be competitive. At a level 10 meet. Other girls, it's no big deal. They could be a weak level 10 and have a lot of confidence and do really good on a couple events, and that they could be just fine. So there's not a one way to what you're asking me. I think it's more about you having a conversation, the athlete having a conversation with their club coach and deciding if they have the confidence to walk in those level 10 meets with maybe a bar routine that's a level 9 and not feel silly, stupid, or like they shouldn't be there. Some girls do, a lot of girls have level 9 bar routines at level 10 because the first year it's hard to have a major release and a big dismount. So that's pretty common. Any other questions? These are great. Again, I would like to recommend that you join the webinar we're going to do April 16th. It is a Wednesday and it's going to be late for you on the East Coast. It's 6:30 Pacific Standard Time. So it would be, oh no, 6 o'clock. So it'll be 9 o'clock for New Yorkers. We couldn't do it on the weekend because you guys will have meets and my advisors are all out traveling to the meets. So we had to do it during midweek. It will be recorded. So if you can't watch it on that Wednesday evening, you can purchase a spot and then you would get the link the following day. We'd like to have as many people live because we want it's going to have a lot of questions. So basically, just so all of you know, there's a lawsuit against the NCAA and the judge is making final decisions in regards to how it will trickle down to each sport, April 7th. So the info will come out April 7th, and then the 16th, we're going to do a webinar. I'm going to have a lawyer and I'm going to have an NIL specialist on the webinar to explain what you can expect in the future with all these changes, especially in the sport of gymnastics. So it's going to change recruiting. It's going to change scholarships. It's going to change roster spots. We've never had anything like this before, ever. So some families are going to have to hire specialists, like an NIL specialist. NIL, that's when you receive money or revenue shares, different things. It's almost going to be like the athlete is an employee of the university. Whereas now the NCAA governs all of everything we do in recruiting. And everything's supposed to be as equal as possible. And it's going to move more towards like the pros. And the teams can only have 20 girls on them. They've designated that for the sport of gymnastics. So there are a lot of teams that have way more than 20, so they're going to be making cuts. And it all is going to go into place fall of 2025 is what we were preliminarily told. But April 7th is when we'll find everything out. So I think it's going to be a little tougher to be recruited. I think you're going to want to be extremely sure of being on a team where you can make the lineup, because if you struggle, you could get cut the next year. So let's say you want to be on a team because of this or that, but you're not really at their level. Before, we used to take walk-ons and we would get them better for our lineup, right? And we didn't mind doing that because they were a walk-on. Sometimes they'd earn a scholarship. Well, they're saying a lot of that's going to change. And you want to make a team where you can impact the team and be kept for 4 years, if that's your goal, to stay there and be on the team. Because what can happen is now college coaches can go to the portal, and so they'll cut players and grab girls from the portal, and girls are going to go in the portal more. So there's going to be that whole recruiting piece we've never had to deal with before. So I'm recommending go to a school where your academics are a good fit and you're going to be successful. And then your gymnastics, you got to be able to make the lineup on several events to be able to keep your spot, is what I'm trying to say. Let's see, anything else over here? That's pretty much all I have. So let me just wrap it up by saying everybody has to jump in the recruiting process. If you think it's something you really want to do, I say jump in with both feet and take it one step at a time. Because I can tell you this, it feels a little bit like this. Even once you get phone calls or maybe even go on some visits, it can still feel like a lot of highs and lows. So the most important thing is that you give everything you got. Every day you go to school, and every day you go to gym, you give it your best, and then you put yourself out there to the schools you think are going to be a good fit for you. And then you stay open. There's very few, I had 7 elites last year that I took through the recruiting process. And I can tell you this, we start with one list And almost always, it never stays the same, the list of schools. So you have to be a little bit open to what's going to come your way. Because it's not just about what you want, it's about does the college coach feel you're the right fit for them, right? So have fun, work hard, and do all the things to put yourself out there to make yourself competitive in the recruiting process. And then the next thing I always say is stop thinking about recruiting, both parent and athlete. So we know regionals is coming up for those of you who are level 10s and level 9s. And you should be doing all the things that whatever you feel you should do if you're not one of our clients, but whatever you're working on, be done with it by tonight. And then focus on yourself and getting ready for regionals and Westerns and Easterns, because it does no good to put bricks on your shoulders about recruiting right now. Okay. We want to take those bricks off and allow you to go and have fun with your team and enjoy all of the hard work that you've put in. It's really important. Okay, that's all I have.
I love that advice, by the way.
Oh,
That's great.
good. All right, so I will end it here. All of you are more than welcome to contact me anytime. And feel free to join our next webinar. You don't have to be a family or a client of ours. Anyone can be a part of that NCAA versus, it's called NCAA versus House settlement. And again, I think it's going to come out on Wednesday. So join the newsletter. If you're not already, just go to my website and a box will pop up, put your email in, and then you'll get that information Wednesday morning to register if you want to. And this wasn't a sales job to do that. It is $20 a family, but honestly, I'm just telling you because I can only take so many spots on Zoom. So if it's something you want to be part of, and it is kind of a big deal, these changes. I just really want you guys to be aware. But I'm happy, Kirsty, to share more of this with the coaches, and then you guys can trickle down the info to your families. That's basically fine too.
Great. Thank you so much, Jill. Thank you, families, for joining.
Good luck, everybody, at the end of your season here. Congratulations. And I just love Gotham. So I wish you guys all the best.
Gotham loves you too, Jill.
All
Okay.
righty.
I'll
Bye,
see
you
you
guys.
Tuesday.